Welcome back to Spiritual Quest. Remember, your support means the world to us. If you appreciate the video and our work, remember to like, subscribe, and share a message of love in the comments below. Now let's get into the video. In the 14th century, amid theological controversy and spiritual searching, the Byzantine theologian and monk Gregory Palamas articulated a vision of divine experience that continues to resonate in Eastern Christianity today. At the heart of his teaching was the claim that through deep contemplative prayer, the human soul can experience God's uncreated light, the same radiance that shone from Christ at the Transfiguration. For Palamas, this was not imagination or metaphor, but a real encounter where human consciousness becomes suffused with divine energy. He insisted that while God's essence remains beyond comprehension, his energies are truly participatory, allowing the soul to commune with the divine. In this script, we will explore Palamas's vision of the uncreated light, his defense of mystical experience, and the way he wove together theology and consciousness into one of the most profound spiritual syntheses in Christian history. Gregory Palamas was born in 1296 in Constantinople, the cultural and theological capital of the Byzantine Empire. As a young man, he left behind the life of privilege to become a monk on Mount Athos, the great center of Orthodox monasticism. There he immersed himself in the practice of Hesychasm, a contemplative form of prayer that emphasized inner stillness, repetition of the Jesus prayer, and openness to divine presence. Hesychast monks claimed that through such prayer they experienced visions of divine light. Critics, especially the scholar Barlaam of Calabria, dismissed these experiences as delusions. Palamas rose to defend them, formulating a theology that would affirm mystical experience while preserving the transcendence of God. His teachings eventually became central to Orthodox spirituality and remain a cornerstone of the Eastern Christian understanding of consciousness and divine union. Hesychasm, the spiritual tradition Palamas defended, means stillness. It is rooted in the conviction that God can be encountered not only in outward ritual, but in the depths of the soul. Hesychast prayer involves quieting the senses, repeating the name of Jesus, and turning attention inward to the heart. Practitioners reported that in this stillness they experienced radiant light, peace, and a sense of union with God. Far from being illusions, Palamas argued, these experiences were real encounters with the energies of God. For him, Hesychasm revealed a truth about consciousness, that when freed from distraction and ego, the soul becomes transparent to divine presence, capable of perceiving the uncreated light of God. A cornerstone of Palamas's theology was his distinction between God's essence and God's energies. The divine essence, he argued, is utterly transcendent beyond all thought and comprehension. No creature can ever grasp God as he is in himself. Yet God also communicates himself through his energies, his presence, actions, and radiance in the world. It is these uncreated energies that the soul encounters in mystical prayer. This distinction safeguarded both the transcendence of God and the reality of divine experience. We do not see God's essence, but we truly participate in his life through his energies. In this way, Palamas bridged theology and experience, showing that mystical consciousness is not illusion but communion. Palamas pointed to the biblical event of the Transfiguration of Christ on Mount Tabor as the paradigm of mystical experience. The Gospels describe how Christ's face shone like the sun, and his garments became dazzling white, as the disciples were overwhelmed by divine light. For Palamas, this was not a symbolic story but a revelation of uncreated light, the radiance of God's energies shining through Christ's humanity. When Hesychast monks claimed to see light in prayer, Palamas argued, it was this same light of Tabor, accessible not by imagination but by union of the soul with God's energies. Consciousness, in such moments, becomes luminous with divine radiance, reflecting the eternal light that sustains creation itself. Palamas understood mystical experience not as an escape from the world, but as a transformation of consciousness. In experiencing uncreated light, the soul is not dissolved into God's essence, but transfigured by his presence. Consciousness expands, perceiving creation itself as suffused with divine energy. This transformation is ethical as well as mystical. The experience of light leads to greater humility, compassion, and love. In this sense, the uncreated light is not only a vision, but a participation in divine life. The soul becomes what it beholds, radiating the same love and light into the world. For Palamas, this was the true destiny of human consciousness, to be illumined and transfigured by God's energy. Palamas's teaching was controversial in his time. Barlaam of Calabria and others accused the Hesychasts of heresy, arguing that God could not be experienced directly. They dismissed the visions of light as psychological phenomena or illusions. In response, Palamas wrote his Triads, where he defended the reality of uncreated light and articulated his essence-energies distinction. After decades of debate, the church councils of Constantinople in the 14th century affirmed Palamas's theology, establishing Hesychasm as a central expression of orthodox spirituality. Palamas's defense of mystical experience was groundbreaking. It validated the reality of contemplative consciousness while preserving God's transcendence. His legacy remains vital today for anyone seeking to understand the relationship between awareness, prayer, and divine presence. At the heart of Palamas's vision is the affirmation that the soul can truly encounter God in this life, not by comprehending His essence, but by participating in His light. This experience is not reserved for the few, but is the calling of every human being, to purify the heart, enter stillness, and become receptive to divine energy. In such moments, consciousness is suffused with radiance. The boundary between human and divine dissolves, and the soul tastes eternity. For Palamas, this was the meaning of salvation, not merely forgiveness of sins, but deification, the transformation of the human being into a vessel of uncreated light. The cosmos itself, illuminated by this light, is revealed as a theophany, a manifestation of divine energy. Gregory Palamas's theology of the uncreated light presents one of the most profound syntheses of mysticism and philosophy in the Christian tradition. He shows that consciousness is not confined to human thought, but is capable of participating in divine energy, becoming radiant with the light of God. His teaching affirms that mystical prayer is not fantasy, but the soul's true vocation, to awaken, to behold the uncreated light, and to be transfigured by it. For Palamas, this vision is both personal and cosmic, a revelation that every moment of awareness can become a window into eternity, where human consciousness merges with the luminous energies of the infinite.